Hello, I'm Matt Frostick. I'm the president of the Michigan Corn Growers Association. We've heard over and over again that 2020 was a challenging year, but farmers are no stranger to overcoming challenges. And when our industry is presented with obstacles, the work of the Michigan Corn Growers Association becomes even more important. Our mission has not changed. We make sure that corn farmers have a voice in Lansing and Washington, D.C. and push for legislation that helps our industry thrive. We joined forces with several other corn states to visit D.C. and meet with policymakers and regulators to push for higher blends of ethanol and advocate for expanding trade.
There's an old saying when it comes to negotiations that you either have a seat at the table or you're on the menu. Events like the Washington, D.C. fly-in help to ensure that Michigan corn has a seat at the table. Three of the main topic areas that we focused on in our meetings with legislators and stakeholder groups were free trade agreements and the impact of exports on our commodity markets, a high-octane, low-carbon fuel standard and what the future of the RFS might look like, and lastly, the concept of a carbon trading marketplace and how producers might be able to gain revenue from practices that they implement on their farm.
We also participated in the annual Ag Day at the Capitol in Lansing, which allows us to build relationships with state legislators and staff and talk about the impact of agriculture on Michigan's economy. Throughout the year, we engage with individual legislators by pairing them with farmers in their districts to have one-on-one meetings. These meetings help build our influence and relationships and give us an opportunity to educate our legislators about the policy issues that affect farmers. They also give our legislators first-hand experiences on our farms. Our policy advocacy is at the core of what we do, and 2020 was no different. Three issues that have been at the forefront of our MCGA's advocacy are trade, ethanol, and EPA registration of ag chemistries. This year kicked off with the Senate approval of the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Free Trade Agreement and the signing of the China Phase 1 deal in January. These agreements encompass three of our most important trading partners, and MCGA pushed hard for the completion of the agreements. In the spring, as the state initiated stay-at-home orders in response to COVID-19, ethanol prices dropped by 50 cents per gallon due to decreased demand. A National Corn Growers Association study showed that we lost $50 per acre in revenue due to the impacts of COVID on the livestock and ethanol sectors. MCGA was actively engaged in making sure ethanol producers and farmers were not left out of the relief packages. Through our partnership with the National Corn Growers Association, we also introduced new legislation, the Next Generation Fuels Act. If passed, this legislation will remove barriers to higher blends of ethanol, allowing us to build on the success of RFS to expand the role of ethanol in the fuel supply. This year also saw a continuation of EPA's process for the registration of important ag chemistries, including atrazine and glyphosate.
As a member of MCGA, we work on your behalf to make sure that you have chemistries that are registered and continue to be re-registered. What you need to think about is we are an advocate for you. Much like you, when you go into a health care or you have a health issue, you know the importance of having a health advocate for you to ask those questions that maybe you are not aware of. Well, we are that for you with EPA. We go in and we work with EPA. We provide the answers to their questions. We ask those questions and we hold them accountable for doing their process and doing it correctly. We are the ones that are there to fight for you. We are the ones that are there to ensure that your chemistries that you're using are there and that you continue to have those in your toolbox.
Outside of our advocacy efforts, the Michigan Corn Growers Association is dedicated to building up the next generation of agriculture leaders.
As an intern for the Michigan Corn Growers this summer, I learned firsthand about the importance of advocacy, not only to agriculture, but as an individual who wants to one day represent and serve our industry within our government, either as a someone to lobby on behalf of the industry, or as an elected official. And I did that through a bunch of different activities that I was responsible. In addition, as an intern, I also got the chance to attend the Corn Ambassadors program, where I learned from the national corn growers how to advocate as a member on our industry. And I know there were other members within the Corn Growers Association nationally on that conference, and I was able to interact in a national perspective of how we communicate both to our coworkers, our peers, students, other industry leaders, government officials, and communicate to different generations of what agriculture is and what we represent and what we need as an industry.
Looking forward to 2021, staying engaged will be more important than ever. Reauthorization of Trade Promotion Authority, the Next Generation Fuels Act, and new trade agreements will all present challenges. And believe it or not, it's already time to start talking about the next Farm Bill. To those of you who are already members, thank you. Our work would not be possible without you.
Being a Michigan corn grower member, it gives us the opportunity to kind of connect with our legislators to bridge the gap and educate them about agriculture, especially when policies and new legislation is being developed. We want them educated so they can make the best decision for our farming operation.
One of the main reasons I think that the Michigan Corn Growers Association is important is that we get to be in touch with all the legislation going on in the state and across the country. They pick up on a lot of things like that, and it just helps us as farmers be able to stay in touch with what's going on while we're still out in the fields working. We don't have to go and check up on a bunch of other legal stuff, and just the information that we get through our emails and everything is very important.
The strength of our voice depends on the strength of our membership. If you're not already a member, please consider joining us today. It has been my honor to serve as your president these past 2 years, and I look forward to seeing what we can achieve together in the future.